All right, hey guys, I'm just doing dishes, okay? So I thought I would do a chit chat while I do some dishes. I didn't do anything yesterday because yesterday was the most beautiful day ever. It was the quintessential fall New England day where it was warm, breezy, little cool in the shade. Absolutely perfect. The sky was not full on sun. There was a little bit of clouds, but it was always bright. So it wasn't like cloudy. It just, meaning there were clouds, but they were a little more fluffy. So it was just daylight. And there were, times when the sun would be out. It was absolutely perfect. And I was like, I am not staying inside. I am going to be outside as much as I possibly can. So I was. So anyway, I have quite a bit of dishes to do today. And housework in general, because my house is a little bit of a mess. And I thought I would just come on and do a little chit chat, kind of my older style, how I used to just do random chit chats and talk about whatever. And there's a couple of things that I really want to talk about. Current events, my past, my beliefs, and I say beliefs, even though I think they're true, but I don't put it out there as such. I put it out there that this is what I deeply sense and feel, but I don't try to put myself out there as any kind of, expert on truth. You guys should know that. And one of the things that I want to really put out there today too is I know there's not a lot of you that watch my videos, but I do want to thank you. I do want to thank you for being here. And it's not so much to validate me. It's more a community of finding other like-minded, like-hearted, like-souled people that are consciously aware of the journey that they're on, that we are moving through this time on the planet that is a powerful, powerful time of transformation. And I don't need a lot of followers because I know that the majority of people are absolutely not awakened to the truth of their being. So I would way rather have just a few people here that are consciously awakening to the true multidimensional being that they are. Okay, that's why I'm here. I'm not here to try and wake anybody up. I've been there, done that, learned my lesson well. Okay, I know that that is impossible to do because everything is a frequency. Everything is just an energy signature. And I'm not going to appeal to most people. That's for sure. So, thank you. So, I wanted to just chat a little bit about current events because I think it's very interesting. When you think about what has been going on with NASA and CERN, if you're not aware, it's okay. You can just feel your way through this, okay? Just kind of get in touch with your deeper instincts. They're up to nefarious shit, all right? And the whole CRISPR technology program that's tied into the artificial intellect, digital grid, okay, into that network. It's the transhuman agenda, all right? So if you think about all of this and what's going on, and you also consider the times that we live in with the sun entering into its peak solar maximum, and even though they're not going to tell you this on the surface, there are scientists that have been saying that this particular cycle is extremely unusual. And here's this word, unusual, okay? They're seeing things that they haven't seen before. And there's a lot of unusual activity, okay? There's also a lot of unusual activity with the earth, all right? The earth's frequency is having these spikes and it's doing these things that are unusual. And of course, it's all happening in coherence with the sun. So the sun and the earth are doing these unusual things. Now, humans are also going through this process, and our 2NA strands of DNA are actually unfolding to 4, and they're uncoupling. And I've actually talked about this in so many videos before, and again, the videos aren't there right now, so for those of you who might be new to this, you need to understand that I have the science and the proof to back up this. This is not woo-woo. This is not me just saying this, okay? This is absolutely known. They've been discussing it in scientific circles for many years. I've known about this for many, many, many years, and it was actually published in scientific magazines back in 2020 during the PSYOP, and again, very few people paid attention to it. And of course, you have to remember, they're going to try to spin the narrative any direction that serves them, okay? But when you know what I know, and you know how to connect the dots, and you see the bigger picture, you know exactly what is happening. We are being restored, okay? We are basically being elevated, upgraded. We are merging back into our multidimensional self that has been completely hijacked, overwritten, we've been shut down, okay? So all of this junk DNA, okay, isn't junk at all. It's an aspect of our higher multidimensional being that connects us to signals and information and the basic dragon lines, they call it, okay, before they were hijacked. This is what links us to our source and our creator, okay, that is beyond this synthetic matrix reality, okay? So this is what's happening. And again, I'm not here to preach this, and I'm not here to try to convince anyone. You either feel it or you don't, all right? And if you don't feel it, I do feel sorry for you, and hopefully you will eventually awaken to your own true nature and know that this is true. This is something that you have to feel. It's not something in your head. It doesn't even matter if you know this information or not. It's something that you feel. And I was born feeling it. Okay, so when I say I was born awake, I was born with the feeling. I didn't necessarily know in my head, because that's not awakening. Awakening is not your mind. Your mind is extremely limited, okay? This is why the New Age movement has taken the whole mind thinking shit and ran with it, because it keeps people in the loop, okay? It's not about the mind. It's about the feeling. It's about the intuition, the instinctive knowing. It's about the linking up with the signals that are bringing us back to our true multi-dimensional self, okay? And remembering who we are, reawakening within ourselves, and opening ourselves up to this greater consciousness, okay? This is what's happening. It's bringing us back towards unity consciousness, okay? Which we have not had on this planet, all right, for a very long time. Some say that we had it in the past, and then the fall of man, and then that hijacked humanity, and now we're actually being reignited again, okay? I guess that's an easy way to look at it. And if you understood about NASA and how we've been tricked and lied to about what they're doing, their two main goals are tracking and monitoring the sun cycles, all right? And of course, they're part of CERN, so they're in bed with CERN. They're not only in bed, they're the same entity, okay? And all that stuff going on over at CERN, which is crazy shit, okay? Crazy shit. These people are insane fucking criminals, okay? And their genome project, okay? So they like us to believe that, oh, NASA just has a tiny little room where they do genome research. Bullshit, okay? Again, they often tell us the truth, but then they don't give us the whole truth, and they spin the narrative to serve their agenda. So they want us to believe that they're like out exploring space, but what they're doing is monitoring the sun and monitoring human DNA, because they know that as the sun has been being unusual, okay, human DNA is starting to unfold, and it's starting to reawaken, okay? Reawaken is a term that Jacqueline Hobbs uses. She goes by the name Oracle Girl, and she uses the term reawaken, okay? So I didn't coin that term. I always just use the term awaken, but the reawaken, it just means we're remembering, right? It's like we're remembering who we truly are. So it's definitely more fitting. So for those of you that really feel this, you just know it. You know it intuitively. You know that you didn't come here for this bullshit. You know that you're made for something much greater. You know that you are capable of so much more. And everywhere you look, all you see is ridiculousness. It's just ridiculous. And some of us participated in the ridiculous more than others. And a lot of people are outgrowing it now. They're getting to the point where they realize that they've been participating too much in it, and they're ready to walk away from it. And they're ready to start aligning with something different, with something much more beautiful, okay? Now, one of the most difficult things for me on this journey is realizing that I can't save anyone, that I'm helpless. I'm helpless to save anybody. But what I do know is that as we continue to embody ourselves, that we do start to alter the frequency and the vibration of this planet, because we're tied in, right? We are all tied in to this planetary grid. And the original grid has been hijacked, like everything. Everything has been hijacked on this planet. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't still truth and beauty and wonderful things on the planet. That's not what I'm saying. That still exists. It's almost like two realities have been superimposed. So it's almost like there's these two realities that are enmeshed. And unfortunately, we are just surrounded by this dark energy. And when I say dark, I'm not talking about yin and yang. Okay, I'm using dark and light, comparing love with that which is not love. Okay, that's how I'm using it, just so that we can understand it. It just, the terminology just fits. Okay, light meaning being in the light, being in the love, being in the expression of our true being. Jacqueline Hobbs calls it purity or pure love, the pure love signals. Okay, God, I mean, again, you can use whatever terms you want. Words are meaningless. They're just meaningless. Can you either feel it or you don't feel it? And remember, a lot of people think they feel stuff, but it's really their mind generating a story. Okay? And when the mind and our thoughts generate a story, it's easy for us to convince ourselves that we truly believe in something that could really just be a big old matrix story. And that's the majority of people on this planet. They'd like die for these stories. And the stories are false. Because if you're not awakened, truly awakened to the truth of your being, you don't have a clue. You don't have a clue who you are. So you're not in any position to discern. That makes sense, right? So this is just a journey of discernment and learning to discern what's you, what's for you, and what's not. And I can tell you, I've known, a lot of this my whole life, not the details, of course, but the feeling. And it's been very difficult. Very difficult, because let me tell you, the world tries really, really hard to keep you enslaved. It's very challenging. This is not an easy journey, right? Nothing's easy. I don't mean to say that. Even living in ignorance is not easy, okay? But when you really start to awaken to your true being and you start to follow that impulse instead of following all of the signals and messaging of this false matrix, it's challenging, okay? But you have to keep pushing through. So I wanted to mention all of the stuff happening right now on the planet. Earthquakes, volcanoes potentially ready to erupt. Not that long ago, there was a tsunami in the desert. Like, seriously, you cannot make this shit up. And of course, a lot of people are like, oh, this is the biblical, we're living in the rapture and all of that. And I've said a million times, all of those stories are just reinterpretations of ancient stories. So the biblical stories are nothing new. They've just taken old stories, they've tweaked them a little bit to serve their agenda of creating slaves. Okay, slave master, right? Master slave. And then hooking people into that religious narrative or religious narratives, because there's several. There's several on this planet, but they're all from the same source, which is about control. Okay? And if you have a master, you're a slave. It's just that simple. And if you're okay with being a slave, then that's fine. You probably aren't listening to this video if that's you, okay? So we either follow our own inner guidance system, which is directly connected to the source of our being, okay? Mother Nature, the universe, the sun, all right? These expressions of the greater consciousness, okay? And, you know, there's some that struggle, like I did for years, especially when I was growing up. I struggled with why the universal forces of good, love, as Oracle Girl says, purity, right? Why all of this would be allowed? Because I never understood it at the depths of my being. And I knew that something was wrong. Something was broken. Something got infiltrated. Something wasn't right. The religious narratives were not correct. Nobody turned against anybody. That's not how it happened. And I really struggled with trying to make sense of it for a very, very long time. And I'm not saying that I still understand it, because I don't know how the love got inverted. I don't understand how the love got inverted, why it's allowed, how it happened, but it did. The love got inverted. And we have been living in an inverted reality for thousands of years. Thousands. Been a long time. So this inversion has almost completely overtaken humanity. However, there are some humans that have never aligned with that inverted force. And it's not to say that we didn't participate to some degree with elements of it, but we didn't allow it to take us over. So I'm assuming that those of you that are here are probably one of those people that, even though you might have fallen into some traps, right? Fallen into the pit a few times, you never allowed it to take you over. That's a testimony to your will. That is a testimony to your strength and your endurance and your inner light. So know that that's a huge thing. It's a really huge thing. Because, man, this journey is really difficult. And anybody that, you know, makes it sound like it's easy, blissfully easy, because, you know, you're just, you know, popping psychedelics all day, you're totally out of touch with reality. So we are moving into this radical transformative phase, and you've got earthquakes and all of these earth changes going on, and the solar storms going on, this thing that's in space, which I find really interesting, right? They're trying to like get people to start thinking about like alien spacecraft, which cracks me up, okay? Let me tell you, if any alien spacecraft appears, it's either a hologram or it's just something out of the military complex. Of that you can be sure, okay? Remember, NASA and CERN, they've been up to some naughty shenanigans. Just keep that in mind. And how do I know this? It's easy. It's easy to connect the dots when you understand about Silicon Valley, NASA, CERN, government, Hollywood, mind programming, brainwashing, okay? It's very easy to see what they're doing and what they're trying to do. You just have to be able to step back, connect the dots, and just piece it together. So it's not hard to do. They've been telling us and showing us all the time. They just want us to think that it's coming from outer space, because that creates this, you know, this whole frenzy, right? Instead of realizing it's the sick fuckers on this planet, okay? That's the truth of it, all right? And I've done a ton of videos too in the past about how government, CIA, FBI, Hollywood, music industry, all of the systems are all the same. The sports industry, they're all the same, okay? They are all part of the drama to entertain the plebs. That's it. They're not pulling the strings. They're not running the show. They are simply following a program. They're following a program, just like singers, musicians, actors, They're all playing a role, okay? They're being manipulated by the industry, and they even will pit people against each other. One's got this narrative, one's got that narrative, to make us think, oh, they get it. No, it's part of the divide and conquer, okay? It's part of the whole separation and division. Now, it's not to say that you won't find a little bit of truth there. You can find truth everywhere. You can find lies everywhere, right? That's not the point. The point is that truth is meaningless without you being awakened to your true being, okay? That's why they don't care about the truth movement. And it's out there. And it's actually all over YouTube, and they're not being censored. Makes you wonder why, right? But yet, I get censored constantly. Constantly. So it really makes you wonder, right? Why can they be saying all this stuff? It's true, or at least it seems true, sounds true, it's reasonably true. Because they don't care. They don't care if you know the truth. They don't care at all. Not one little bit. Because most people are not embodied. They're not going to do anything about that truth. Because they're not awakening to their true multidimensional being. Okay? So that is just the fundamental truth. And that is the fundamental fact that people need to grasp. That's why people can be out there saying all of this stuff. And, if I talk about something, certain something, my videos instantly get struck down. But there are tons of people out there in YouTube land talking about the very same thing, and their YouTube channels are not getting struck down. These videos are out there, but I can't say it. I could literally paraphrase. I could name 5 people right now off the top of my head. I'm not going to do it, but I could, that have decent followings, okay, that are talking about some things. Their videos are up. They've got lots of videos talking about these things, okay? Lots of them, actually. It's pretty much what their whole channel is about now. If I were to paraphrase them and say exactly what they're saying, my channel is getting struck down. All right? This is where we're at. So again, they don't care if you know the truth. They care about frequency and vibration. It's the vibration. It's what's behind the message. It's what's being shared. It's the signaling, right? Because right? I'm sure you meet someone in your life and you're like, this was destined. Like, I feel like I've known you my whole life. That is a frequency. This is a signaling. It's like something so familiar here. It's like, wow, there's something really familiar. I feel like I've known you my whole life, because you have. Infinity. Okay? We are all part of the same source. So yes, you have known them all along. It's this deep remembrance, this deep, deep connection that we have. And this is what they don't want us waking up to. Okay, again, they don't care what you know in your head. So we are on the edge of cataclysmic proportion. All right? We're here. And 2 things that I will share. And again, this isn't anything new. I've shared this in videos before. Many, many, many years ago, I had a dream that involved my dad. And I was driving. I was in the back seat of the car, driving in an area of a town that we used to go sometimes because they had a mall. And I don't even know who was in the car with me, but there were 2 people in the front. One was driving and I was in the back seat. And I was in a pretty familiar area, and all of a sudden the earth split open. The car fell down, and I just knew in my being, just close your eyes. You're going to be fine. So I closed my eyes, and I kind of spiraled inward. And then when I came to, I was standing with my dad, and there were other people there too. And what I found interesting is it was in pairs of 2. It was like one person was there with another person, and then another person over here with another person. So we were all in pairs of 2. And I was there with my dad. And we were standing what was like on the side of this luminous mountain. Like this, it was just lit up like this bright light. And it was just, the energy and the feeling was surreal. And I was just completely lit up. Like my whole being was just like elevated. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, and I looked at my dad and I'm like, Dad, don't you see this? Don't you feel this? And he was like, see what? Feel what? So my dad was unable to feel this light, this energy, this frequency. And I spent a lot of my adult life trying to help my dad feel this and trying to help my dad awaken to this and remember this. And this dream vision marked me so profoundly. And I was like, wow. And of course, you know, realizing that there were other people there with somebody and they also were trying to help them remember who they were, right? So I've always had this in me. And there was something about my dad that I was always trying to help him awaken, and having this vision was just powerful and profound. And the fact that it was an earthquake, and we're having all of these earthquakes right now, and the whole thing going on with the sun and the earth and the frequency and the DNA and the signaling. Like I said, this is many years ago. This was over 20 years ago that this dream occurred. And I'll leave you with one more little story. So I was at a college party. Wasn't my college. It was a friend of mine was at a college that was not my college, and it was in an area that wasn't really my favorite area, but that's where she was. And I know this could happen anywhere, so I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying the energy was not great. I remember even getting there. It was a beautiful, beautiful, cool, chilly day. But it was actually kind of like one of those kind of interesting days. But the energy just felt kind of weird to me. It's like, you know how you go somewhere and you just feel out of joint, right? You just, for some reason, you're not flowing and grooving, right? So that's what it felt like to me. I was not flowing and grooving with the energy, the environment. And I'm young. I'm only 19, maybe, trying to think, 18, 19, somewhere in that window, maybe 20, still in college, okay? That's 4 years of college, right? So still in college. So I was in that age. And we go to this college party, and I had been drinking, but I was not hammered by any means, but I had been drinking. So I was definitely buzzed. And we were up on, I don't know, one of the higher floors. And we were partying with all of these people. And I didn't know any of them. The only people I knew was my girlfriend. And because I was buzzed and my brain was not functioning optimally, some guy said, hey, can you go grab us a couple of beers? And I'm like, yeah, sure, right? Because, you know, when you're drunk, you're being possessed and your brain isn't working right. And I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, we'd been partying with them for like an hour. He seemed like a nice guy. Like, you know, like I wasn't interested in him, like at all. I had a boyfriend who's my husband now. I wasn't interested in him, but, you know, he seemed nice enough. And there were a couple of guys too that were partying, you know, with us that also seemed really, really nice. And there were some girls there too. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I ended up going downstairs, and I went down to the very bottom, to the basement floor, like the first floor. And I get down there, and as I step down off the last step, I come around the corner, I turn, and I realize that there was a hallway full of guys, and there were a lot of them. There were no girls down there. And I instantly had a panic feeling come over me. And I had the adrenaline pumping through my body. And I had already stepped off the last step. And as I did, there was some guys that came behind me, so there was nowhere for me to go. So I couldn't run back up the stairs. And then I realized that the guy that told me to go get the beers was actually behind me. He was far enough away, though, that I didn't notice it on my way down, but I noticed eventually that he was right there. So there would have been nowhere for me to go. So I end up here, and I am freaking the fuck out. I thought I was going to have a stroke. I literally just didn't even know how to contain the fear that I felt. And that adrenaline rush, it's fucking terrifying. It's a feeling of pure terror. And I honestly don't know that I had ever experienced that level of feeling before. I've been afraid before. I've had awful feelings before, but this was like over the top for me. And I almost felt like I couldn't hold it in my body, and I felt like I was going to just explode. Like it was that scary. And next thing you know, I find myself surrounded by all of these people, and they were like, the beer's in that room. And I'm like, and the door was like open a little bit, and somebody opened the door, and there were more guys in the room. And that was when I almost like, I thought I was going to black out. Like I just was like, what the fuck? How could I be so dumb? It was just this onslaught of holy fuck. And I didn't go into the room. I stayed in the hallway. And the guy that told me to go get the beer, asked me to go get the beer, came up really close to me and started like, yeah. And I started to back away, and he grabbed me by my sweater. He grabbed the sweater, and I went to turn, and I went to get away, and the sweater ripped. And as the sweater ripped, I don't know what happened in this moment, because there were a lot of guys there. Something descended into my being, and I felt, I don't even know what I felt. So maybe that's not the right word. I don't know what I felt, but something came over me, and I literally, something just, and I was able to get them off of me, and I ran off, and I got to the other end of the hallway and ran up the stairs. And I have no idea to this day how I got away. I have no idea. Angels, the universe moved through me to give me this bionic Herculean strength. I don't really know, because they do talk about mothers, like their kids trapped under a car, and the mother is so strong that she can lift the car up. I don't know what it was that came over me, but I was able to get away, and I didn't wake up the next day like with sore muscles or anything. So I don't really think that it was like my muscles doing it. I really think it was something else. And that changed my life. I knew that something very profound was in this universe, even though I felt like I was floating around in this fucked up place. It was probably one of the first times in my life that I was consciously aware that something was guiding and protecting me. I'm just going to leave it at that. Signing out.